Measurement conversions are customary conversions talking about length, right? When we look right here, this is referring to length or measuring distance. We've talked about capacity using cups, pints, quarts, gallons. And now we're going to talk about weight. So you can see in this list right here, we have 1, 2, 3 sections. These are all customary units of measurement. So customary meaning these are the units of measurement that we typically use here in the US. Next week, we're going to talk about a different measurement system referred to as the metric system. And you see 1, 2, 3 sections here. So we'll be spending 3 days talking about the metric system. But right now we're going to learn about this last section right here, again, referring to weight. So we can see on the reference sheet that in 1 pound, we have 16 ounces, and in 1 ton, we have 2,000 pounds. So join me in part 2. We are on textbook page 489. See you there. All right, we are here. We are on lesson 13.3, and we are talking about still customary units, but this time we're talking about weight. So welcome back. I know in part 1 we were looking at the reference sheet, and here we are on page 489. So let's take a look down here. They're giving us a few photographs of different animals just to kind of give us an idea of the relative size of each of these units of measurement that we're going to be talking about today. So we're talking about an ounce, right? 1 ounce, that's about the weight of a hummingbird. If we're talking about 1 pound, a kitten might weigh about 1 pound, so just a kitten. We can see here that they've also given us that conversion, telling us or reminding us that in 1 pound, that is equivalent to 16 ounces. Now, a horse might weigh 1 ton, and then we know that 1 ton is equivalent to 2,000 pounds. So if you were to follow this picture, you could fit the weight of 16 hummingbirds in 1 kitten, and you could fit 2,000 kittens inside of the weight of 1 horse. So we can see that they're going from smaller to larger and even larger units of weight. Well, let's look at the first question here. Zoom in on this one. When Lori's puppy Bay was born, she weighed 3/8 of a pound. So not quite a whole pound, but 3/8. What was Bay's weight in ounces? Well, I know that going from pounds to ounces, I'm going from a larger unit of measurement back down to a smaller. So I'm going to have to multiply. So 3/8 of a pound is equal to how many ounces? And you guys might see ounces abbreviated with the letters O and Z. So again, we said we're going to multiply, and we have to take what we know. So 3/8 pound times how many ounces are in a pound? Because after all, we're switching to ounces. We know that in 1 pound, there are 16 ounces. So we're going to multiply this by 16. Now we know from multiplying fractions, we're going to put the 16 over 1 and multiply straight across. Now, 16 times 3, we can set up an area model over to the side. Multiplying by 3, and 16 is broken apart into its place values of 10 and 6. 3 times 10, 30. 3 times 6, 18. Add those partial products together and you get a product of 48. And then we know that when we multiply across here, 8 times 1 is equal to 8. We know that we need to divide, so we're thinking in our brain 48 divided by 8. Some of you like to think, how many times will 8 go into 48 without going over? And you guessed it, it is 6. So 3/8 of a pound is equal to 6 ounces. Now, for some of you, I know you like to draw a picture to help you solve. And let's take a look at how we could draw a picture. Well, if this is your whole pound, right? And you think about your fraction, they're breaking it apart into 8 equal parts. So I'm going to cut this into half and then cut those in fourths and then cut each one of those in half. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts is equal to 1 pound. we need to think. We know that there are 16 ounces in this pound. So what number would I have to add together 8 times to equal 16? Well, that would be 2, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, which is equal to 1 pound, and the 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. If we're talking about 3/8, that would be like shading 1, 2, and 3. And now let's think about our numbers, 2, 4, and 6. So you can go about it 2 different ways and arrive at the same answer. Let's turn the page. We're going to skip this problem for right now with the pasta. Excuse me. And we are on page 491. Question number 2. 9 tons is equivalent or equal to how many pounds? Well, if we go back to the first page, we know that that's the picture of the horse, right? And there are 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So now we can go back and answer this question. I know that 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds. So to solve for 9 tons, I'm going to have to take 9 and multiply it by 2,000. Well, that sounds tricky, but I can multiply 9 times 2, that's 18, and add on my remaining zeros for 18,000 pounds. Let's take a look at the next problem. Number 3. 3/4 of a pound, so not quite a whole pound, is equal to how many ounces? So again, some of you, I believe, like to draw a picture. So let's imagine we now have the pound and we're breaking it into 4 equal parts, right? Fourths. Now we know ounces, right? How many ounces are in 1 pound? Well, let's go back and remind ourselves. In 1 pound, we have 16 ounces. So we need to know which number added 4 times will equal 16. Think to yourself. Right, we know that 4 equal groups of 4 will equal 16. So if we're talking about 3/4 of a pound, we're talking about 3 of these pieces. So 3 out of 4. So if we add 4 plus 4 plus 4, we'd have a total of 12 ounces. Now, some of you prefer to multiply, so let's try solving it that way. 3/4 times, we know that there are 16 ounces, so we're going to multiply by 16. We're going to put that over 1 and multiply straight across. 3 times 16 is equal to, if you do that multiplication, you will find that it is 48. And 4 times 1 is equal to 4. But now we need to change this. You want to think 4 times what number will equal 48? Or it's the same as 48 divided by 4, which is also equal to 12. Excellent. Let's take a look at the last problem here that we're going to go through together. They want you to convert pounds to ounces. 17 pounds to ounces. Well, again, we set up here that there are 16 ounces in a pound, right? You always have to think, what's the part that I know? And I always go ahead, I didn't do it for this one. I kind of wrote it down over here. But I always write down the part that I know, or the conversion they give me on my reference sheet. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So then to solve for 17 pounds, I'm going to have to multiply 16 times 17. If I set up an area model, and tell you what, I'm actually going to do that on a separate sheet of paper so we have more room. I know that it's a 2-digit by 2-digit, so it's going to look kind of like a window. And I'm multiplying 16, so 10 and 6, times 17, 10 and 7. Well, 10 times 10 is 100, and 10 times 6 is 60. That gives me a partial product of 160. And 10 times 7 is 70, and 7 times 6 is 42. If I add 70 plus 42, that's 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I have a partial product of 112. I can now add these two together. That would give me a 2 in the ones place. 6 plus 1 is 7, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Meaning that 17 pounds is equal or equivalent to 272 ounces. All right, you're going to try a few on your own today. You're doing problems 5 through 15. And then we're going to take a look at the back, and we're going to go through and do 16 through 19. All right, we'll meet at 2 o'clock to go over these questions, and we'll see you then.